Imagine an elite athlete, right? They just completely shattered a world record on the track.
Okay.
And as they cross the finish line, the whole stadium just erupts, but not in cheers. They're booing, like loud, overwhelming boos.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense.
Right, it defies all logic. You look at the scoreboard, you look back at the crowd and just wonder what on earth you missed. And well, that booed sprinter right now is Alphabet.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are tearing into Alphabet's massive Q2 2026 earnings report from July 22nd, 2026.
Quite a report, honestly.
It really is. Our mission today is to figure out why a historic $119.8 billion revenue beat basically resulted in a punishing stop drop in after-hours trading.
Yeah, the reaction from Wall Street feels completely counterintuitive.
Yeah.
At least until you look under the hood of those top-line numbers.
Exactly. And to do that, we've got a whole stack of sources today. We're looking at Alphabet's official Q2 earnings release, their investor slide deck, the YouTube transcript of the earnings call with CEO Sundar Pichai and CFO Annette Ashkenazi, and also a CNBC piece covering the whole market meltdown.
Which is super helpful because, when a company operates at the scale of Alphabet, headline figures often obscure the real, physical mechanics of what it actually costs to stay at the top of the food chain.
So let's dissect those headlines first, because the sheer velocity of the money coming in is, it's just staggering.
It's nuts.
Q2 revenues hit $119.8 billion. That is a 24% year-over-year increase.
Huge growth for a company that size.
Right. But the number that immediately jumps off the page is the net income. It's skyrocketed by 298%.
Yeah, to $112.1 billion.
Pushing earnings per share to $9.11. But wait, a 298% increase in net income? Did they, suddenly sell 3 times as many ads?
No. No, they didn't.
Because on a surface level, a 298% jump looks like the greatest quarter in corporate history, but you can't just organically triple your search ad sales in 90 days. So what's artificially inflating this number?
Right. So it really comes down to accounting rules and this specific line item called other income.
Okay, other income.
Yeah. So Alphabet recorded a net gain of $98 billion in this category. And it was almost entirely driven by what they classify as unrealized gains on equity securities.
Unrealized gains. So this is basically paper wealth, right?
Essentially, yeah.
It's like Alphabet owns shares in other companies. The market value of those specific investments spiked during the second quarter, but they haven't actually sold them yet.
Precisely.
It's like my house suddenly jumping in appraised value, right? I look significantly richer on paper, but I can't actually use that equity to buy groceries until I sell the house.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it, yeah.
Right.
Because of mark-to-market accounting standards, Alphabet has to report the changing value of its investment portfolio on its income statement.
But I'm guessing Wall Street analysts aren't fooled by that.
Oh, absolutely not. They instantly strip that $98 billion out of their models. They're looking for operational cash flow,
The actual hard dollars.
Exactly. The hard dollars generated by selling products and services. They really don't want to reward Alphabet just for stock market fluctuations.
Okay, so stripping away the paper gains, how is the actual cash engine doing?
Well, the core business is still firing on all cylinders. The legacy advertising businesses are doing exactly what they're designed to do. They're cash cows.
Right. I saw Google search grew 17%.
Yep.
And YouTube ads grew 13%. And honestly, the sheer scale of YouTube's infrastructure was severely tested this quarter.
Oh, the World Cup?
Yes. 1.7 billion unique viewers tuning in for videos related to the FIFA World Cup 2026.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that number.
Right. Supporting 1.7 billion concurrent high-definition video streams without the whole platform just collapsing. That is a monumental engineering feat.
It's a profound demonstration of their global server footprint.
Huh.
But, the legacy advertising business, as massive as it is, that's not the reason the market is hyper-focused on this report.
No. The undisputed anomaly of the quarter, the thing structurally changing the company's trajectory, is Google Cloud.
The cloud numbers are incredible.
Revenue accelerated to $24.8 billion. That's an 82% increase year over year.
And it's not just revenue. Their operating margins saw a massive expansion, too. They jumped from 20.7% last year to 35.6% this quarter.
Wow. And for a company the size of Alphabet, an 82% growth rate in a major division is like watching an elephant suddenly sprint like a cheetah.
That's a great visual.
What is fueling this?
Well, the fuel making the elephant sprint is entirely artificial intelligence. Google Cloud is essentially acting as the utility company for the whole AI revolution.
Right, because every company needs it now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
CEO Sundar Pichai actually noted on the call that nearly 90% of the Fortune 100 are now actively using Gemini Enterprise.
90%.
Yeah, they're deploying it for everything, like automated customer service routing, really complex data analytics, you name it.
And that's just the enterprise side, right?
Right. On the consumer side, the Gemini app itself has reached 950 million monthly active users.
We are brushing up against 1 billion dedicated users for a standalone AI application.
Yeah, wild.
But, you know, the stat from the slide deck that really highlights the physical scale of this adoption for me is the API token volume.
Oh, yeah, the token metrics.
The report says Gemini models are now processing 22 billion API tokens per minute.
Per minute.
Up from 16 billion just last quarter. Now, for the listeners, can you explain what a token actually is in plain English?
Sure. So for anyone tracking compute metrics, you can think of tokens as the fundamental building blocks of AI language processing. It's roughly equivalent to a syllable, or like a fragment of a short word that the AI digests and generates.
Okay, so a tiny piece of data.
Exactly. So processing 22 billion of them a minute, it represents a continuous global avalanche of compute demand.
It's hard to visualize what that means for a physical server.
Well, every single time an enterprise customer runs a prompt or summarizes a massive PDF or asks the AI to generate code, the system is digesting and predicting these tokens. Doing 22 billion of these linguistic gears every 60 seconds requires data centers running at absolute maximum capacity around the clock.
It's a metric of real-world usage, then.
Exactly. It shows people aren't just like testing the AI as a novelty anymore. They have deeply integrated it into their actual daily workflows.
Okay, I see that integration, but I have to push back a little on how they're presenting their product lineup to these enterprises.
Oh, how so?
Well, looking at the investor deck, the sheer number of models is dizzying. We've got, let's see, Gemini 3.6 Flash, 3.5 Flashlight, Gemini Spark, Project Genie, Google Anti-Gravity, and Nano Banana Pro.
Yeah, the naming conventions are quite something.
It looks like they are just flooding the zone, like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks with enterprise customers. Is there a cohesive strategy here?
It definitely looks chaotic from the outside, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But Pichai spent significant time on the call outlining the architecture behind this, which he referred to as the Pareto frontier strategy.
Okay, the Pareto frontier.
Right. It's deeply calculated.
Explain the mechanism there. How does having 20 different models like Nano Banana Pro help the bottom line?
It is all about optimizing the cost of compute. You cannot have a one-size-fits-all AI model because compute power is just incredibly expensive.
Right.
If a bank wants to, say, automatically categorize millions of basic transaction receipts, using a massive, cutting-edge AI model to do that is mathematically wasteful. It's like using a supercomputer to write a grocery list.
Or using a sledgehammer to drive in a pushpin.
Exactly. You waste a massive amount of energy for a very simple task. So the Pareto frontier strategy represents the optimal trade-off between model capability, latency, and operational cost.
So they offer a menu with different price points.
Yes, a highly tiered menu. For example, they highlighted Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber. This is paired with an autonomous agent called CodeMender, and it's specifically trained just to find and patch cybersecurity vulnerabilities.
Oh, so it has a very specific job.
Right. Because its focus is incredibly narrow, it operates with high efficiency and low latency, and it only costs fractions of a cent per task. This saves the customer money, and crucially, it saves Google's data centers from unnecessary server strain.
So they capture the low-end, high-volume tasks with these hyper-efficient models.
Exactly.
While simultaneously training the massive next-generation Gemini 4 to compete at the absolute bleeding edge of AI capabilities.
Precisely.
But pushing that frontier and running all those smaller models concurrently requires a staggering amount of physical infrastructure. Which brings us to the price tag of this entire operation.
And that is where the plot thickens.
It really does. But real quick, before we discuss the stock drop and the exact numbers of this massive infrastructure build-out, I need to add a quick housekeeping note.
Always good to be safe.
Yep. So for you listening, all the information and analysis we chat about here is just to help you better understand the market and is not investment advice. Investing involves risks, so before you enter the market, make sure you do your homework or consult a financial professional.
Absolutely.
Okay, so looking at the CNBC article covering the stock drop, Wall Street didn't panic over the revenue. They panicked over the CapEx.
Yes, the capital expenditures.
Hmm.
For anyone unfamiliar, CapEx is the actual money spent on hard, physical things.
Right, not just paying software engineers.
Exactly. While software relies on salaries, scaling AI requires acquiring massive plots of land, pouring thousands of tons of concrete, securing dedicated power substations that rival small cities,
Wow.
and purchasing hundreds of thousands of AI chips like GPUs and Google's custom TPUs.
This is steel, copper, and silicon on the ground. So originally, Alphabet told Wall Street they expected to spend between $180 and $190 billion on CapEx this year.
Yes.
But in this earnings report, they bumped that guidance up to between $195 and $205 billion.
A massive jump.
I mean, a $200 billion infrastructure budget for a single year is larger than the gross domestic product of many sovereign nations. Wall Street clearly got vertigo from that $15 billion upward revision.
They absolutely did. The sheer scale of that revision raises alarms for analysts who are projecting future profit margins. Because the question becomes, is there a ceiling to this spending, or is the AI arms race just a bottomless pit of capital?
And what did Alphabet say to that?
CFO Anat Ashkenazi addressed this directly. She stated that the company remains severely supply constrained.
Wait, supply constrained?
Yes. Demand for AI is so high that Alphabet literally cannot construct data centers fast enough to serve everyone waving a checkbook at them.
Wow. The CNBC piece also mentioned that in Q3, Alphabet will have to use third-party capacity as a bridge strategy while they build their own facilities.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, so Google is renting server space. The company that practically invented the modern hyperscale data center is farming out its compute needs to third parties.
I know, it sounds crazy.
It seems like a massive compromise.
It is a compromise. And it comes with a premium price tag that will definitely squeeze their profit margins in the near term. But it illustrates the triage hierarchy Pichai detailed regarding how they allocate their chips.
Walk me through that hierarchy. When a new batch of advanced chips arrives at a Google data center, who gets to use them first?
Okay, so priority number one, the absolute top of the list, is frontier AGI development.
So the Gemini 4 team?
Yes. The R&D labs get the best hardware, no questions asked, because leadership believes losing the frontier race is an existential threat to the entire company.
Okay, that makes sense. What's number two?
Priority number two is supporting their own core ecosystem. They have to ensure that AI features in search and YouTube operate without latency.
Which means the external cloud customers, the Fortune 100 enterprises who are actually paying them hard currency for compute access, they are sitting at the bottom of the hardware food chain.
Exactly. Priority number three.
No wonder they're supply constrained and forced to rent third-party servers. They are consuming the vast majority of their own hardware just to stay competitive and keep their consumer apps running.
It's a very delicate balancing act. They're essentially sacrificing short-term profit margins on external cloud computing to ensure they don't fall behind in the foundational model race.
And balancing that requires immense liquidity. If you're planning to spend roughly $200 billion on physical infrastructure in a single year, how do you pay for it?
Well, historically, Alphabet's search monopoly generated enough free cash flow to fund almost anything. But the capital intensity of this AI era is pushing even their balance sheet.
Right. So what are they doing?
In Q2, they raised a staggering $49.6 billion via equity.
Wow.
Yeah, issuing Class A, Class C, and mandatory convertible preferred stock. And alongside that, they issued $20.3 billion in senior unsecured debt.
And the CFO categorized this as maintaining a, quote, resilient balance sheet.
Right. By taking on strategic debt and slightly diluting equity, they are building this impenetrable fortress of cash, basically guaranteeing that no matter what happens in the macroeconomic environment,
Like a recession?
exactly, their AI data center build-out will continue uninterrupted.
They also highlighted the creation of a $40 billion ATM, or at-the-market, program. But this isn't for general corporate purposes, right?
No, it's very specific. It's designed to handle tax obligations associated with employee stock grants.
To me, that sounds like a defensive maneuver in the talent war.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they're issuing massive amounts of stock to retain top AI researchers, which incurs massive tax liabilities. So this ATM program allows them to slowly sell shares into the open market to cover those tax bills without draining their cash reserves.
That is a very astute reading of it. Retaining Tier 1 engineering talent is just as critical and almost as expensive as buying the hardware itself.
It's wild.
But, to justify taking on debt and spending $200 billion on CapEx, Alphabet has to prove to Wall Street that the future revenue is guaranteed. You can't just build it and hope they come.
And the primary metric they use to prove that future demand is the cloud backlog, right?
Yes.
The earnings release showed the backlog grew by $50 billion sequentially to reach $514 billion.
It's $500 billion.
A $500 billion backlog is really difficult to conceptualize because a backlog isn't just cash sitting in a bank vault.
No, it's not.
It's more like, imagine a massive luxury hotel that is fully booked for the next 2 years.
Okay, I like that.
The corporate clients have signed legally binding contracts guaranteeing they'll pay for the rooms, but the hotel cannot legally count that money as revenue until the guests actually check in and stay the night. Is that an accurate way to visualize it?
That is a perfect analogy.
Nah.
The backlog represents contracted money that clients have agreed to pay, but Alphabet hasn't officially recognized as revenue yet because the services haven't been delivered.
Got it.
And the fact that this pipeline expanded by $50 billion in a single quarter proves that enterprise demand is accelerating.
Right.
Plus, they disclose that over 50% of this $514 billion will be recognized as actual revenue within the next 24 months.
Wow. Okay.
That is their primary defense against Wall Street's panic. They're arguing that the CapEx spend is entirely de-risked by this guaranteed revenue flowing down the pipe.
That structural guarantee definitely softens the blow of the CapEx numbers, but, the road ahead is far from perfectly smooth.
Definitely not.
The sources outline a few major headwinds they have to navigate. First is that near-term margin pressure we touched on.
Right, the depreciation.
Yeah. When you purchase billions of dollars worth of servers, those physical assets depreciate. That hits the profit and loss statement heavily over a 4 to 5 year cycle.
And you combine that with the skyrocketing utility costs of simply powering these new facilities and renting third-party space, it's a recipe for squeezed margins.
They also face the financial friction of integrating their new cybersecurity acquisition, Wiz, into the broader Google Cloud ecosystem.
Yeah, those are standard operational hurdles, though. The third challenge mentioned in the CNBC article is far more concerning.
The Chinese open-weight AI tools.
Yes. This is a systemic threat to their entire business model.
Let's look at the mechanism here. We talked earlier about API tokens being the fundamental unit of commerce in the AI economy.
Right. The syllables.
If highly capable open-weight models from international competitors become widely available for free or at drastically reduced prices, that exerts massive deflationary pressure on the global cost of a token.
It commoditizes the foundational layer of AI. Enterprises are intensely focused on controlling their software costs.
Of course.
If they can achieve the same level of performance from an open-weight model that costs a fraction of a cent per 1,000 tokens, they will aggressively negotiate pricing with Google.
So Google can spend $200 billion building the most advanced data centers on Earth. But if the market price for the output, the actual token crashes due to global competition, their ROI timeline gets stretched to the breaking point.
Precisely.
They're essentially forced to compete on the application and ecosystem layer rather than just selling raw compute power.
Right. If the token itself becomes a cheap commodity, Google has to prove that its surrounding ecosystem like data security, agents like CodeMender, seamless integration, is worth the premium price tag.
Which completely reframes the narrative of this earnings report. I mean, we set out to discover why Wall Street booed a sprinter who just broke a world record.
And we found it.
Yeah. The answer is that Wall Street isn't looking at the race that was just run. The 24% revenue jump, the massive net income that proves Alphabet dominated the last quarter.
But the stock drop is a reaction to the terrifying reality of the next race.
Exactly. Alphabet is locked in an infrastructure arms race where the entry fee is $200 billion. Profit margins are under attack, and the fundamental product they're selling is facing global deflationary pressure.
They are executing flawlessly on their current business model, but they're simultaneously trying to physically rebuild the company's foundation while running at top speed.
It's an incredible balancing act.
It really is. And for you listening, whether you're an investor, a tech worker, or just someone using internet search, you are watching the physical rewiring of the global economy happening in real time, right in front of you.
Yeah.
The deployment of this capital, redirecting energy grids, mass manufacturing, custom silicon. This is the industrial revolution of our generation.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought I want you, the listener, to mull over after we wrap up here.
Let's hear it.
We've spent this entire deep dive discussing Alphabet being supply constrained, their desperate, capital-intensive race to build more data centers, secure more power, hoard more chips just to meet current demand. But if the global appetite for AI is so insatiable that even a $200 billion budget isn't enough to prevent bottlenecks, at what point does the physical limit of our planet become the true bottleneck?
That's a great question.
Right, like when does available electricity or water for liquid cooling or just the sheer mining of raw materials for these data centers stop the AI revolution in its tracks rather than a limitation in the software itself?
At some point, the sprinter does just run out of breath. They run out of track.
Exactly. Keep asking those questions, keep looking past the headline numbers, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care, everyone.